The holidays are upon us, so let the carb loading begin. Or not. Welcome to my kitchen. This is one of my favorite rooms. Hi, I'm Carolyn, if you don't already know me, and I love to eat, but I must eat healthy or my tummy doesn't like it. So I always try to find, especially around the holidays, alternatives to the unhealthy food that's gonna be everywhere, to have something that I know I can eat, not upset my stomach, not make me gain those extra pounds that I've worked so hard to keep off. I don't want them climbing back on just because we're celebrating the holidays. So this is so delicious. You're not gonna feel deprived. I don't like feeling deprived. I love to eat, and I love to eat food that is healthy and good for me. So this is one of those things. This is bacon and cheese roll-ups. Now right there, you know it's gonna be good, right? I really like to measure things with my scale, especially things like cheeses and flours. We're not using flour, we're using almond flour. So that's just ground up almonds. So this is also good if you have someone that you love, someone in your family, someone who's gonna come to dinner that has celiac disease or is just gluten intolerant. They're gonna love this. You wouldn't even have to tell the rest of the people that it's gluten-free because they would love it too. So I like to use my scale for things like that because it's just a little more accurate. We start with 250 grams of mozzarella cheese, grated mozzarella cheese. I just get it already grated. I know it's better if you grate it yourself, but you know what? Sometimes it's just easier to do things the easier way to make sure that you're going to do it. Because if you're adding to the task of all the things you've got to do, sometimes it's okay to cut a few corners. So 250 grams is 2.5 cups. I will leave the entire recipe in the description box, so don't even worry about that. Then I measure out my cream cheese. So there's gonna be two kinds of cheese, mozzarella cheese and cream cheese, and it's 65 grams of cream cheese, which I think is about 4.5 tablespoons. So once you get that all measured out, and there it is in my bowl, I put it in a glass bowl because I'm gonna put this in the microwave. I'm gonna do it for about a minute, then I'll give it a little stir, see how it's doing. So you just want it to melt and come together like a dough. So let's do that. After a minute, you can see it's not done. It could use a little more melting, so I will just put it back in for about another minute. But you can see it's turning into a dough. You know what? I'm not gonna put it in for another minute. I'm gonna put it in for another 30 seconds. So another 30 seconds, and it's perfect. So as you can see, it's a little gooey, and it's forming a ball, which is exactly what you want it to look like. Now comes our science experiment. I'm gonna add 2.5 tablespoons of baking powder. That's a lot of baking powder, so make sure it's aluminum-free, make sure it's gluten-free. Don't scrimp and get a cheap baking powder. And then you add 2 eggs. This is where the science experiment starts. It's gonna start sizzling. It better start sizzling because that's what you want. So get that mixed up. And this is a little bit of work to just kind of make sure it gets all incorporated. So this is what's gonna make it light and fluffy and super delicious. I don't know if you can hear the sizzling, but I can hear it. And you can see the little bubbles are coming up. So we just need to get that incorporated. So that's about as good as I'm gonna get it. It's not completely smooth. It's not turning into that perfect ball that it was in before. And now we add the rest of the ingredients. Almond flour, and then we put in xanthan gum, And then you just keep mixing that until it's no longer sticky. We're working on our biceps and our shoulder muscles, ladies. So when it gets to this point, it's not completely all incorporated. I just dump it onto some parchment paper, and then I sort of knead it by hand. Clean hands, and I had forgotten to take my rings off, so I took my rings off. It's not like when you're making bread, you don't need to do a lot of kneading. The reason you do that when you're making bread is because you want the gluten to form. We don't have any gluten in this, so we don't need to do a lot of kneading. We just need it to come together and form a ball. So it's gotten to the point where it's really not very sticky. It's looking like it's all coming together pretty nicely. Do not need to overdo it. Just as long as I've got all that almond flour sucked up and into my dough, I feel like I'm ready to roll it out. I like it nice and thin because then you have more area to cover with the toppings, and the toppings are kind of spectacular. Did I mention that it's bacon and cheese? So if you're a cheese lover, you got all the cheese that you want in this recipe. Now for the toppings, I used 1 full heaping cup of mozzarella cheese and then another ½ a cup. You can use any kind of cheese you want, but I picked this one, the shredded Pavino, and I also did like a really grated Parmesan cheese. So I just did a ¼ cup of each of those to make another ½ a cup. And then you just spread this evenly all over your rolled out dough. Then you add in your bacon. Again, you could kind of do whatever you want. I was thinking olives, chopped olives might be really good, or onions, or just whatever you really like. You can just spread that all out. So I chose bacon. Most bacon is going to have sugar in it, so I am very careful to choose bacon that does not have any sugar in it. And then I just grill it in the oven. I put it on a grate on a sheet with salt underneath. So all that salt absorbs the grease so it doesn't smoke up the whole kitchen. And then you can leave it in there at 400 for about 10 minutes. And I would keep an eye on it, but then it comes out nice and crispy. Just crumble it all up and over your rolled out dough it goes. So I just start at one end, start rolling it up, pinch it in there, and then just roll. And there it is. Now we're gonna slice it. I slice it into 12 pieces. I like them to be nice and thin. Normally they don't fall apart like this, but it's gonna be fine. You can try to stick them back together, but it's all gonna taste just as good. The pieces that are kind of falling apart, I'm just kind of sticking them back together. Now I've got my 12 pieces, and since I did already warm up my oven, they're ready to go right into the oven. So I'm gonna stick them in for 10 minutes. And we'll check in 10 minutes and see if it needs more time or if they are gonna be good to go. And while we're waiting for our bacon and cheese roll-ups to come out of the oven, I thought I would show you my fashionable Thanksgiving apron. Looking fashionable in my little apron. I also wanted to say Thanksgiving and the holidays in general is not always easy for a lot of us. You see everyone out there surrounded by family, and sometimes that's hard to see because people we love are maybe no longer there for us anymore. Things that we used to do maybe aren't the same anymore. So it can be a really difficult time of year, and I would say it's difficult for more people than you even know. Social media is so bad in making everyone's life look so fantastic. Nobody shows themselves sitting in bed crying. they only show the happy moments. So if you're one of those people that the holidays are just difficult to get through, I just want to tell you, like all things, this too will pass. And I just want to reach out, I just want to give you like the biggest hug and tell you, you know what? This Thanksgiving, you're on my list of things I am so grateful for. So let me check on my biscuits because I think they're done. Oh my gosh, you guys. They have to figure out a way to get smell to come through the camera because the smell is fantastic, but just look at that. That was 10 minutes. I think I'm gonna stick them in again for 2 more minutes. Yeah, that last 2 minutes made them absolutely perfect. And now comes the best part. I'm gonna taste them. Okay, this is so good, so delicious. Tell me in the comments if you're gonna give them a try. And if you do give them a try, oh, check back with me because I wanna know. I wanna know what you think. The bottoms are like crusty. The inside is just gooey and soft and so good. So that's it for today. That's all I've got for you guys. But like I said before, sending you a giant warm hug. I love you guys.